Hello. So we are back with another short story today. God sees the truth but waits. And it's written by Leo Tolstoy in 1872. So it's very old, just like the other one we did. And this is set in, I think, Russia.
Yes.
Namrata, so what did you think about the story when you read the story?
Why does God wait? Why does he have to wait? So
Yes, that's so valid.
so Aksionov is our main character in the story,
Mm-hmm.
and we see how he was punished for a crime he never committed.
Yeah. Oh, this reminds me of the movie Redemption.
Yes.
This is very close to that movie.
I think
And
some
I,
Yes, sorry, but I think somewhere I actually have read that some movies like Shawshank Redemption, and there were some more names were could have been inspired from a story like this.
yeah, I think that this is like a very classic plot.
Hmm.
I mean, not the whole plot, the entire plot, but some of it is very classic in nature, where a lot of movies have been inspired. Where I think in Bollywood as well, we have a lot of stories which
Hmm.
have this element of innocent, innocent people being jailed.
Yes, and then having to suffer.
Yeah,
And but again, when they finally are about to be released, or when it is their innocence has been kind of accepted, they are no more the same person. Obviously, they have changed as a
yeah,
person. And even here, we see Aksyonov's transformation. How he is no more the same person, and even the real culprit, whose name was Makar Semyonich. So even
mm,
Makar Semyonich, yes. So even when Aksionov finds out that it was him because of whom he had to be here in isolation in prison, and he could not be with his family all these years. He lost his youth and all that time. Even after knowing it, he decides to forgive him, and that tells us more about how Aksionov is no more the same person. He doesn't have any um, urge to take revenge, probably.
yeah. Um, Also, I think Leo Tolstoy is he is known for these kind of stories too. I mean, those characters that he talks about, that he writes, and the things that he's inspired of in his own life is very evident in this story. He's very spiritually, I would say, not awakened, but very spiritually aware mm, person, and he is very much inspired by his religion, his philosophy of God and truth and forgiveness, and that we see here, where Aksionov goes through this entire change. His philosophy changes or develops, I would say. He's this innocent person who just plays music, loves his wife, and indulges in very normal, ordinary person's, um, things, everyday things. But then he is into this mess where he has to spend the entire youth in the prison, so he has to change somehow. But instead of becoming cynical, which is the very easy way to do, which is a very easy path to go through. Like if something bad happens, i've seen so many I've heard so many stories where a person who is as good as Aksionov goes through a very hard time, and that hard time, that suffering, makes the person really, really cynical about life. really depressed and really negative about people. But then he goes through this change, this spiritual awakening, where he realizes where the original, where the real forgiveness lies, what is forgiveness, and he lives his life like a saint. So it's a very inspiring story. I think it was very much needed in the time that it was written. Even now, it's very relevant. But then Leo Tolstoy writes this story, which is very true for his age, much needed for his age.
Yeah.
What do you think about the realness of the story? I mean, the is it convincing for you? For example, I don't know, because maybe I'm not that spiritually awakened. I have I struggled with the convincing part, where convincing power of this scene where he is Aksionov is given a chance to kind of um punish the real culprit,
But
but
he
he
is not.
doesn't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you are right. So somewhere it is difficult for us to be convinced with this action of Aksionov, or rather inaction of Aksionov. But somewhere I can, imagine that yes, maybe if you look at it uh, in a with a micro perspective, it looks like it would be the best thing for him to do if he takes a revenge.
Revenge.
But
Easy thing to do for him.
yes, but somewhere I think that has been this exact thing has been shown how he has now kind of detached himself from all of that action or whatever has happened. And because there is that sense of detachment, he doesn't find it necessary to take revenge. He thinks it'll be God who would do what is needed to be when it's time. I think it might be possible to feel that if we think of it with a macro perspective, like I don't know. So somewhere like we are nobody. If you look at it from a from a macro perspective, I mean, then maybe he thinks uh, that it is not. It's beyond his capability to take revenge, and he should just leave it as it is. Maybe.
Yeah, you are right. You definitely feel some kind of existential twang when you read this. You like the macro and micro thing that you're talking about. Um, there's definitely some tension here too, where you feel like he will kind of punish him because he's feeling that anger. And they I don't know which translation you read, but I think there's a place where he is tormented, like he feels the anger, and there's this monologue going where he is
Yes.
like, he ruined my life and he should be punished. And
Hmm.
he's feeling that anger, and we feel as a reader that maybe he
Hmm.
will do that, but then he doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. So Aksionov trembled with anger as he looked at his enemy. All these lines tell me that he is feeling just like us, like we would in this scenario.
Yes, because I think at that moment he must have had a flashback of all those years and how he could have spent it in a completely, totally different way. Um,
Hmm.
so that must be troubling and highly disturbing for him.
Yeah.
Even though he might have been spiritually awakened and a changed individual, but still somewhere uh, he must have felt a sense of loss. But then
Yeah.
that sense of loss cannot really be changed. He cannot really change it
Yeah.
taking
I
revenge.
mean, when he confronts this culprit, the real culprit, I'm sure he feels everything. coming back to him. Um, but then, yeah, you're right. Um, and then he
And
dies.
yeah, he dies. So somewhere maybe the writer has also tried to show how love can change a person. So the culprit, the original culprit, Mikhail
Yeah,
Semyonich, he felt a sense of repentance. He felt
yeah, and
guilty. Yeah.
he says that I'm wrong, and he comes clean to him, forgive me and have me flogged, but I have done this wrong. I have some you've had pity on me even though I didn't, all these things.
Yeah.
So the last words from Askanov is, God will forgive you,
Hmm.
said he. Maybe I am 100 times worse than you. And at these words, his heart grew light, and and the longing for home left him. So he no longer had any desire to leave the prison, and but only hoped, mm, for his
Okay,
last hour to come.
so I have something to discuss here. What do you think was more difficult? Was it more difficult to forgive Semyonich, or was it more difficult for Semyonich to receive that forgiveness? Both were
I
both were difficult, but
yeah, I mean, both were difficult for like each other. Like for Aksionov, it was difficult to forgive him, but then it became easy, and that forgiving, the act of forgiving, helped him to kind of forget the suffering as well, what and the longing to go home, as he said. So I think that when he overcame that bit of forgiveness, and he forgave the culprit, he becomes relieved of all the pain that he has and desire to go home, and he just comes at peace. So I don't know. And for the culprit, I think it was as difficult as that. He also felt terrible, I'm sure.
and because he felt terrible, that makes him um, a a better culprit. I don't know, a better human from the regular culprit that we have. Because if he had been a real villain, he wouldn't really feel guilty about it. He would feel, okay, I can get away with it. Nothing happened. I did all that I had to, and now I also get forgiveness. Like he could not ruin anything. So if he had been a real villain, maybe he would have a different attitude to that forgiveness that was given to him.
But you mean real villain? By real villain, you mean if he would have been bad through and through?
Yes, like there is
Mm,
some goodness in him.
of course, yeah,
Hmm.
which makes him a bit better.
Hmm.
Although
That's right.
people do feel guilty nowadays, we have resources where we can hear, where we can interview killers, and
Yeah.
they do feel guilty. But then
Hmm.
that's another topic for another day, where we talk about how how the criminals could be a victim to their own deeds. But it's very controversial.
Mhm. Okay, so that would be it for this video. We hope you liked the discussion that we had. If there is anything you would like to share, please write it up in the comments. And if there is any suggestion regarding which short story or any other work of literature we should take up next, You can leave it in the comments. Thank you.